Good day, functional family. Today, our discussion will be about the gut microbiome. What is the gut microbiome? So, the gut microbiome, or the gut flora, are the microorganisms including bacteria, archaea, and fungi that live in our digestive tracts, not only in humans but other animals, even including insects. And the gut is the main location of the human microbiota or microbiome. There are roughly 40 trillion bacterial cells in your body and only 30 trillion human cells. There are so many bacterial cells that we're not even aware of. So there you go. Okay, so where and how much? There's trillions of microbes that exist mainly in your intestines and on your skin. And most of the microbes in your intestines are found in a pocket of your large intestines called the cecum, and they are referred to as the gut microbiome. The intestine is considered one of the most densely populated microbial areas or habitats known on Earth. Okay, so an individual weighing 155 pounds, the human gut microbiome gathers more than 100 trillion microorganisms and weighs about half of a pound. So we have a half of a pound of bacteria. The human body is made up of about 23,000 genes, whereas our microbiome encodes over 3 million genes that produce thousands of metabolites. So you're first exposed to microbes when you pass through your mother's birth canal. However, new evidence suggests that babies may come in contact with some microbes while still inside their womb. So the first building of the microbiome starts when you pass through your mother's birth canal. Although there is a core consistency of bacterial groups common to all healthy humans, it has been estimated that 1/3 of gut microbiome is common to most people, but the microbiome composition is mostly unique to each individual. So there's some factors affecting the composition of the microbiome, and this is what we can do to make a difference. So for instance, feeding methods. Breastfeeding is very important. The first 6 months of a child's life should be breastfed because that really helps the microbiome. Medications are something that we can also monitor and only take when necessary and really make sure that we're treating the root cause of problems rather than just trying to cover up symptoms. So antibiotics and antisuppressants or acid suppressants and anti-diabetic drugs, those kind of things we can maybe change or find the root cause of them, not even take them. Dietary habits and the way food is cooked is also something that we can change and we can improve upon. Environmental and lifestyle. So environment, like just what different types of things we take in from our environment, from the food to the air we breathe to all of that, even just the water we drink, are some things we can change to try to take care of our microbiome. And weight gain also has a huge effect on our microbiome. But there are a few things that we can't change when it comes to our microbiome. So for instance, just our basic genetics and how we're made up. Anatomical parts, how the internal organs are made up in our body, especially the small and large intestines. There's the gestational age, like preterm birth versus full-term birth. That makes a big difference. The delivery method, the vaginal delivery versus the C-section. Again, vaginal delivery, we're going to be exposed to our mother's microbiome, which is going to then supply us with the biome or with the bacteria we need to develop ours. And also aging just does a lot of things to our microbiome. So it just over as we get older, there's a decrease in diversity of the bacteria. There's also a decline in the beneficial bacteria and an increase in overall gut inflammation, and there's just slower motility and mobility and digestion in general as we get older. So who got the throne in your microbiome? So one of the most important things that makes up our gut biome is our bacteria. There's a lot of bacteria. 60% of our gut flora is bacteria. So the Firmicutes, the Bacteroidetes, and the Actinobacteria and Proteobacteria are the 4 dominant bacteria that are in our gut biome that need to be there. And then you can read there's other dominant types that are just down below that too. If you want to try to go through those, that's up to you. But anyway, so those are the 4 main dominant bacteria types. And here's a listing of the bacteria. And then there's also healthy composition. There's another thing that's healthy composition of the gut microbiome is fungi. So there's dominant types of fungi. You can read through those right there. There's also other things called the archaea and protists and viruses. Those are all healthy things that should be in our gut microbiome. So let's talk about the growth of your microbiome. So first, when you are passed through the birth canal, you're exposed to your mother's bacteria, and which then in turn then develops your gut microbiome bacteria. That's the first exposure. And then next what happens is that the breast milk supplies sugar to what's called bifidobacteria, which helps that to grow. And then next we are exposed to digestive fiber. So digestive fiber is really important because it produces a short chain fatty acid, which is important for this gut health. But it also helps prevent weight gain and diabetes, heart disease, and other risks of cancers. So your immune system, about 70% of your immune system is housed in your GI tract. So it's really important to have a healthy gut microbiome because this communicates with your immune cells. So this in turn will then help control your body's responses to infection. So also the gut microbiome helps control brain health. So new research suggests that the gut microbiome may affect the central nervous system, which controls the brain function, which all the research I've read, it's definitely true, the gut-brain connection. Okay, so now let's talk about your weight and the gut microbiome. So an imbalance of healthy and unhealthy microbes is sometimes called gut dysbiosis. So just think of it as good bacteria versus bad bacteria. So if we have a lot of bad bacteria in our gut microbiome, that's going to contribute to weight gain. That's what the research has showed. So several well-known studies have shown that gut microbiome differ between completely different identical twins, one of whom was obese and the other was healthy. So this demonstrates that the microbiome isn't affected by genetics. Okay, so let's talk about the gut health and the gut microbiome, and they're both directly related. So if you have a good gut microbiome, normally you have good gut health. But if you have something like bloating, cramps, abdominal pain, that's associated with something called irritable bowel syndrome. And this can be due to a gut dysbiosis. And what does that mean? That means that you have too much bad bacteria and not enough good bacteria. And those bad bacteria like to produce a lot of things like bloating, cramping, abdominal pain. So there's certain bacteria called bifidobacteria and lactobacilli, which are found in probiotics and yogurt, and they can help seal the gaps between the intestinal cells to prevent leaky gut syndrome. So, for instance, if you have a problem with your GI tract, there could be damage due to toxins and all kinds of other things, which then if you have damage to the GI tract wall, it can create this leaking of materials from your GI tract into the bloodstream, which can cause an autoimmune problem. So what we want to do is we don't want to have this leaky gut, and we want to have healthy cell walls inside our GI tract. Okay. So the bifidobacteria and the lactobacilli, what they do is they prevent disease by causing bacteria to not stick to the intestinal wall also. Okay, so also this gut microbiome has a big influence on your heart health. So the gut microbiome plays an important role in promoting good HDL cholesterol and triglycerides. And certain unhealthy specimens in the gut microbiome may also contribute to heart disease by producing trimethylene N oxide, which is TMAO, and it's a chemical that contributes to blocked arteries, which may lead to heart attacks or stroke. So certain bacteria within the microbiome convert choline and C-carnitine, both of which are nutrients found in red meat and other animal-based food sources, to TMAO, potentially increasing the risk factor for heart disease. Okay, so the gut microbiome is also very involved with diabetes and the control of blood sugar. So the gut microbiome also help control blood sugar, which could affect the risk of type 1 or type 2 diabetes. One recent study studied 33 infants who had a genetically high risk of developing type 1 diabetes, and it found that the diversity of the microbiome dropped suddenly before the onset of type 1 diabetes. It also found that levels of the number of unhealthy bacterial species increased just before the onset of type 1 diabetes. So again, the correlation, the relationship between our gut microbiome, our gut bacteria, and different health problems that we have. There's a strong correlation between the two. So if we can control our gut microbiome and improve it and make it healthy, then the likelihood of these diseases will be less. So there's this thing called the gut-brain connection, and there's strong evidence to show that the gut has a lot of chemical transmitters that can influence your brain health. So let's read through this. So certain species of bacteria can help produce chemicals in the brain called neurotransmitters. So for example, serotonin is an antidepressant neurotransmitter that's mostly made in the gut. So serotonin, mostly made in the gut, and it's an antidepressant. So the gut microbiome may also affect brain health by helping control the messages that are sent to the brain through these nerves. A number of studies have shown that people with various psychological disorders have different species of bacteria in their guts compared to healthy people. So, how can you improve your gut microbiome? Stay tuned. So, how do we improve the gut microbiome? So eat a diverse range of foods. This can lead to a diverse microbiome, which is a good indicator of gut health, good gut health. In particular, legumes, beans, fruits contain a lot of fiber and promote a growth in healthy bifidobacteria. So the best thing to do is to do 20 to 30 different types of fruits and vegetables throughout the week. And that means you actually have to count them. And that means they are different. They're not just a repeat. So different, 20 to 30 different kinds of fruits and vegetables. That'll feed the gut microbiome. It'll add diversity to it. It'll make it super healthy. Secondly, eat fermented foods. So fermented foods such as yogurt, sauerkraut, kefir all contain healthy bacteria, mainly lactobacilli, and can lead to reduce the amount of disease-causing species in the gut. Limit your intake of artificial sweeteners or just simple sugars in general. Some evidence has shown that artificial sweeteners like aspartame increase blood sugar by stimulating the growth of unhealthy bacteria like Enterobacteriaceae in the gut microbiome. So eat prebiotic foods. Prebiotics are a type of fiber that stimulate the growth of healthy bacteria. Prebiotic-rich foods include artichokes, bananas, asparagus, oats, and apples. Okay, so to continue on with how to improve the gut microbiome to make you healthy, it's important to understand the concept that breastfeeding for the first 6 months is very crucial. So breastfeeding is very important for the development of the gut microbiome. Children who are breastfed for at least 6 months have more beneficial bifidobacteria than those who are bottle fed. Another important thing is eat whole grains. Whole grains contain a lot of fiber and beneficial carbs like beta-glucan, which are digested by gut bacteria to benefit weight, cancer risk, diabetes, and other disorders. So whole grains important for the diet, mainly because of the fiber. Try a plant-based diet. Vegetarian diets may help reduce levels of disease-causing bacteria such as E. coli, as well as inflammation and cholesterol. So plant-based diets does not mean you're completely vegetarian. Plant-based diets just mean that probably 90% of your plate is fruits and vegetables and grains, and the rest would be protein. So eat food rich in polyphenols. Polyphenols are plant-based plant-based compounds found in red wine, green tea, dark chocolate, olive oil, and whole grains. They are broken down by the microbiome to stimulate healthy bacterial growth. So polyphenols are also, just think about eating a diversity in color too in your food. Those are important things. So taking a probiotic is really important. Probiotics are live bacteria that can help restore the gut to a healthy state after dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is that unhealthy state where you have more bad bacteria than good bacteria. So these probiotics are going to introduce more good bacteria. And they do this by reseeding with healthy microbes, which is that good bacteria. So taking antibiotics only when necessary. So antibiotics kill many bad and good bacteria in the gut microbiome, possibly contributing to weight gain and antibiotic resistance. Thus, only take antibiotics when medically necessary. So the gut microbiome is extremely important for health in many different ways, with disease processes, with healthy brain function, all those type of things. It also helps with longevity. It helps with an immune boost and just an overall happier mind. So focusing on gut health is a very crucial part of gaining or regaining health.